fantastic show today. We're going to jump right into it. I'm Coach Shun. Welcome to the Prospect Podcast on a very nice Wednesday morning here, at least in New Jersey it is. I'm sure always where you are in South Florida, it's always nice. So I don't even have to ask Coach unless there's a hurricane. It'll be a beautiful day. I have Coach DePasca with me to my right today, and we're excited to really dive right in with one of the world's most renowned speed experts and acceleration experts in the whole entire world. He's one of the most sought after guys, if not the most sought after guy, when you're getting ready for the NFL Combine. His company XPE has really gone to the top over the last, I would say, 15, 20 years. And really because of our guest, Tony Villani, and what he's done, and not just from a development standpoint, but he's had many of the top every year. He has, if not the top guy, one of the top guys in the NFL Combine, and multiple guys, multiple first-round guys every single year that come through his program and his NFL Combine program. But it's beyond that. It's his ability to teach speed, change direction, acceleration, and some of the ways that he goes about teaching it that I think can help any athlete become faster, any athlete learn how to change direction and accelerate better. There's nobody better at it. And I think one of the great things is that he teaches. We've talked a lot about coaching the coaches. He's very willing to coach up other coaches on how they can get better at it as well. I've seen many videos of his, with clinics big and small, of him teaching coaches on the hands-on situation, literally demonstrating the drills on how to teach speed and acceleration and change direction and get them to much higher levels from that standpoint. So, Tony, it's great to have you on today.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you I like y'all's intro to the podcast. That was a cool one. Appreciate the intro to me too. I was like, I gotta get me one of those. So that was pretty cool.
No doubt. No, it's fun. We like to get creative with it. As little creativity as we have, we try to put as little some of it in there. Talk about I obviously touched on some of the high points, and but talk about where you came from, how you started to get into this space and development over these last 20 or some odd years. That's really put you to the forefront of the industry.
It's crazy because my dad was a doctor, granddad a doctor, uncle a doctor. I thought I was going to be a doctor, and my dad said, "Don't get in the medical business. It's not where it's at." And I couldn't believe it now, but now I know what he was talking about. Told me to own my own business, so I went and got a master's degree in exercise science back in the day. Being a strength and conditioning coach that focused on, being a strength and conditioning coach barely existed back then, but being one that focused on speed and agility definitely didn't exist. I got lucky, and I kind of got a first start with Chris Carter's FAST program at Randy Moss with Randy, Chris, and Randy. Bill Welly hired me for peanuts. I took a pay cut. I was personally training people, working for the Orlando Magic, 25 years old, making $80 an hour. So, you were making like 60, 70 grand a year at 24, having fun. But then I took a job for $25,000 a year to work with Chris and Randy. But I always had in my mind that I wanted to start my own business, and that kind of started it. I worked there for 3 years and learned probably more from them in those 3 years than I had learned ever. And then I had an opportunity to start XPE with various other athletes that didn't want to come to Boca Raton anymore. I think I left on good terms with Chris Carter, and I moved to Atlanta and started up XPE, and it's been 23 years since.
It's such and you really quickly touched on it, but it's been a genesis. So I remember when I had back in the early 2000s, 2011, I had a speed development company, and I remember it was me and Bill Parisi were around the corner from each other up in New Jersey, right? And Bill had initially, I guess, launched in New Jersey, at least North Jersey, the whole explosion of that, and then there was my group. There was Joe Franco. There was a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of guys that came up, and
Chuck
um,
Mound.
yeah, Chuck Mound. My partner was a Bill Parisi disciple originally, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was really interesting, the explosion of that in the North Jersey area in that time period. And while that was going on, I started hearing about what you were doing, and some of the other guys down in Florida, and that whole explosion, and then the NFL Combine stuff really became a big thing. Um, and then obviously not only did it become a big thing, but then it became a big television thing, right? So as it became a big television thing, guys like yourself started to be able to come more to the forefront because of the fact people would be like, who did he train with? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this guy ran a great time, and who did he train with? And more became you, as one of the guys that people train with, and the top athletes train with. Um, when you were starting to develop your own model in the early days, what was kind of some of the things that you thought about from a business focus standpoint, number one, and number two, from a athletic standpoint, that you really wanted to emphasize?
Business focus when I moved to Atlanta was start small and grow big, and then I grew too fast. Business focus, bought out a Velocity Sports Performance franchise, went from one easy run facility that was 2 to 4,000 square feet to three that were 10,000 square feet. Worst mistake of my life. If anybody wants to have a business call with that, I'll go over that. But start small and end up big, and really just focus on results. But I got to give credit and homage to the NFL players that trusted me before I was no one. And it was like Jamal Lewis and Takeo Spikes and Osi Minoria and Hines Ward and Dorsey Levens and Wayne Gandy and like these guys to Shea Townsend. They all started trusting me within when they were between year 1 and 5, and they all went on to play 10 to 15. And it was just a new system of, I mean, look at me, like, and I looked at Takeo's traps. He had no neck. And I'm like, I'm not going to squat you anymore. We're going to jump and we're going to do lunges and we're going to do sleds and we're going to do hamstrings for your legs. And I'm not going to do linebacker drills with you anymore. You've done those your whole life. I'm going to teach you how to shuffle and how to cross over and how to sit and plant. And I was working on that way back when. And I remember Takeo Spikes way back coming off of Achilles in year 7. He started with me in year 8 based off just sound, speed, and agility principles working together with his weight training. And I took him through one warm-up session. He said he was sold. And I showed him some spreadsheet I had created. This is what we're going to do first on movement, second. And he was sold. And he had looked all over the place for 7 years. And I trained Jamal Lewis MVP, Hines Ward Super Bowl MVP, all before that. But Takeo Spikes, like coming to me after an injury, just looking at these sound, speed, and agility progressions, like really helped my career. And he went on to play 8 years after a torn Achilles. This was back in, that was unheard of.
That was
that was when it was like a career, right? I mean, you watched Dan Marino go through that.
Yeah, we didn't do anything special besides start working on what I think people are finally working on now, which is reflexivity, bounciness, deceleration, acceleration, foot position, body. We were doing it like a long time ago. And that like helped me shape who I was, just great athletes like that trusting me. And I give so much thanks to those 7 or 8 guys in Atlanta that built my business. I tell them that all the time. And then in 2010, I really became known for Combine because we had 3 top 15 picks. And that's when it started to become on TV in 2008, like you said. And I used to get so frustrated because people would go work out bad, but you wouldn't get publicized. And the same people that trained them to where they worked out bad would still get guys sent from agents. I'd be like, when are these agents going to damn smarten up and look at where these guys train? But starting in 2010, it started to be on TV. 2010, this guy, Neil Stratton, inside the league.com, would put out the 40-yard dash results and where they train. And that was my marketing. Mm-hmm. I would say that was my whole marketing packet. Here's every DB and receiver that ran the 40, and here's where they train. And I could show that my numbers were always like all my guys were in the top third, and we always had the best. So we didn't have awful results, and we had above average to great results on 90% of our guys, and that helped me get a lot of people. And now it's kind of the system that it is. It's funny because has our combine training evolved a lot? I'm not trying to be rude, not much. We haven't done much different with combine training in years. That's easy. It's so easy to get someone explosive and fast. It's like the easiest thing in the history of the world. Do it. You don't have to listen to me. You can listen to 20 different people. We're all saying the same freaking thing.
Right.
It's, if you just listen to the same 20 people, maybe I'm one of the 20 or not. We're all saying 80% of the same, and then you just develop your 20% if you want to get explosive and fast. So that's the easiest thing, and we're good at it now with the combine. And as I start throwing in more data and analytics and ground contacts and shred and all this stuff, it's just proving that what we used to do was, luckily, knock on wood, the correct thing to target. And it is not a top speed event. It is an acceleration in the top speed event. Correct. And that's where people have it wrong. They went back to track mechanics for so long to make people fast in the 40. And I flipped it way back when and said, I'm going to focus on the other end, acceleration into top speed. And they sound similar, but in a speed spectrum, they're the opposite. You got this top end speed zebra over here. You got an acceleration in the top speed lion over here, and I don't care how fast you are past 60. I count how fast you got to 40. And I started targeting that, and that's what set like 40-yard dash records.
I think that's also what's so important about that too, is that's where it is related to the game of football, because from a zero stop point to how fast you can accelerate and getting towards top speed is the key. The faster you can do that, and the longer you can hold that in a very short time span, is the difference that makes players. And when I it's often debated, but because obviously when you get on the for TV, the favorite thing to do is when a guy runs a great 40-yard dash time, there's an analyst on there saying, well, what does why do we even do, what does this have anything to do with football? Yeah. And I my thing always is, in a race to the end zone from 20 yards out or 30 yards out, the guy who can get accelerated the fastest is going to win in that race to the end zone, right? And
the great athletes after I left Atlanta, then I transformed to a new group of athletes, and it was like Anquan Boldin, Mark Ingram, Travis Kelce now is a student of the game that became a teacher.
Yeah.
Denzel Ward, people like that, Stephon Gilmore, Darrelle Revis, like they opened my eyes to what now is game speed.
Right.
And everybody, when I say game speed, and I'm going to re-educate everybody in December because it's been like 7 years since I've been talking about game speed, since Darrelle Revis and Anquan Boldin flipped me on my freaking head. I was training them alone, getting Revis ready for his last season. Revis had jumped in and trained with the pros, like my group. He was just quiet, humble, hard worker. I would tell Revis to fix something, and he'd fix it. And then I'd be like, man, I'm sorry I told you to do that, but you were doing it wrong. He's like, I know I was doing it wrong. Thank you. Like that's the old school. Like you fix the new school cat, they don't like that. But Revis was like, fix me. New school guys, oh no, they don't want to be told they're planting outside the frame, not have their foot turned in, spun in place instead of setting their edge. But Revis gave me so much confidence because I only trained him for 1 year. Everybody thinks I trained him longer, and he recommends like DBs come to me, so they think I trained him his whole career. We trained one off season together. But he gave me so much confidence because I knew this wide receiver position from working with Anquan Boldin and Chris Carter and them. He gave me so much confidence of the system for DBs. But Anquan Boldin and Revis in my facility one day, and we were alone. And I said, what are we trying to do? Let's play cat and mouse, speed and agility.
Right.
And they both said they didn't want to sprint. Whoever sprints loses. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Y'all play the fastest position out on the boundary. And Revis and Anquan said, yeah, I'm trying to get Revis to run. Once when he runs, I win.
Right.
Huh? And then Revis said, yeah, I'm trying to make Anquan feel like he has to run. Because when he feels like he has to run and I can stay basketball and crossover, I win. I said, wait, so whoever's sprinting losing? They said, yep. I said, well, I've been doing everything wrong. And Anquan said, no, you haven't. We still work on agility and speed is still important. But there's a whole level of how to get open. There's a whole level of playing fast that nobody will listen to.
Changing speeds. It's changing speeds. It's acceleration, deceleration, reacceleration, right?
Yes.
You do a great video. You had a video. I mean, it's I don't know if it's just my algorithm, but I've seen a great video where you're actually doing a clinic kind of deal with it looks like almost like a 3-cone drill setup.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Roll 90 it's called.
Right, and you're explaining that exact kind of concept of game speed to the coaches, right? It's other coaches you're talking to.
Yeah.
So you dive a little bit more into that because I think that's such an important thing, right? Like that we talk about with game speeds and that acceleration, reacceleration, and where those things come in.
This is how you play fast. I figured it out. I'm not like unlock the key. All those announcers are like, why does the 40 matter? Well, it matters because you need to be fast.
Right.
Okay. And game speed has one key word in it, speed. So when I say I want to train game speed, it doesn't mean I'm neglecting speed. It means I'm training speed and game speed. Anquan Bolden and those guys and Revis knew game speed. They knew they had to be fast. But once when you get fast enough, it's
right.
Let's learn. So Anquan always used to be like, I used to believe in the max reserve effect. Well, if I get faster, I can run my routes faster. It's the exact opposite. If you get faster and you run your routes too fast, you get out of your break slower. So people make sense of that now.
Yeah.
But what they don't understand is every 1/100th of speed you gain, like 0.2 miles an hour you gain, you lose 1/10 of speed in the change of direction. So what great players like Travis and Mark Ingram and Anquan started showing me after we started testing was when they ran in a straight line, they wouldn't run in a straight line faster than someone else. Everybody's like, oh, they play faster. No, they play slower, but not much slower. But when they change directions 10 times faster. What do I mean by that? Mark Ingram will run, he'll get to 18 miles an hour by yard 15 if he sprints. But when he's running the ball, he's only going to get to 17 miles an hour by 15. He's going to control his speed by 1 mile an hour, which is about 0.04 seconds, okay, through a fly 10 zone. But when he changes directions, he's going to change directions 4/10 faster, 10 times. Because someone that gets up to 18 gets all out of control. They do a bend too much. They break down. But those great players have this GPS in their head, and Anquan had. He's like, no, we run routes at 14 to 16. I'm like, no, we're going to get better and run them at 18. He's like, you can't. So that's when I did this roll 90 test. We run, go through a beat, and we make a turn and go through another beat. The fastest any human can do it, Tariq Woolen, who runs a 4.2, Denzel Ward, who runs a 4.3, Cortland Sutton and Justin Simmons, who run 4.5s, can still get 1.50, but you really can't get under that metric because when you go too fast, you break down and have to come out. So that's what I showed on that video. Tony Holler was watching. He was like shocked. I said, here we go, guys. And I went through these. I sprinted 10 yards, and I'm talking while I'm doing it. And I go, boom, and I come out. And it looks good. But it's 1.88 seconds because I broke down. I did a breakdown cut when I was supposed to do a speed turn. Okay, this is applicable for a speed rush. It's applicable for a speed out. It's applicable to a running back hitting a turn. If you break down, imagine a track guy running the track and chopping his feet. Everybody's going to leave him. Okay? So it's the same thing. When I'm trying to execute a speed turn, I got to execute a speed turn. So I did it in 1.88 seconds. Then I walked right back to the line. I said, now I'm going to talk to my grandma and do it. I'm not going to run, change directions. I'm going to push 1 or 2 steps like Anquan Bolden teach. Continue my movement, but don't hit the gas. So like Mark Ingram, I'm not getting to 18, but I'm getting to 17. Whatever. Like, control my speed. And I went, boom, talked to my grandma, and I hit a roll. And I brought my speed down from like 0.2 of a second, just like that. And so when I can do it in 1.50, I went back and looked at it. That means I'm averaging 13 miles an hour through that zone. So that means I may be getting up to 15 because I'm slowing down 11 in the turn to average 13. I was like, damn it, Antoine was right. Like, no human possible, no matter if they run a 4.2 or not, can't run a turn faster than being at a top speed of 15 or 16 and slowing down to a slower time in the turn. So then GPS data started coming out. If you look at game speeds of football, it's like guys that run 20, 22 miles an hour rarely ever at 19 or 20. And defenders better never be there. They just posted a good thing on Quinyon Mitchell, a good little highlight of him playing DB. I shared it with my high school DBs. I'm like, you tell me when Quinyon Mitchell was running on this 2-minute footage. And they looked at it. They're like, I only saw him turn his back and run once. I said, yeah, they showed 9 highlights. And per Revis, he ran once for about 4 steps. 9 highlights of a shutdown corner killing a game, right? I said, even when he's guarding a long ball, he's crossover running. Like, it's so much more about controlled speed to play fast. So to play fast, you got to learn to control your speed first and just start first. If you start first, you win. So Ray Lewis, and who has knowledge of the game, his eyes go like this, and he starts first, and the linebacker next to him is doing this, he's already 2 to 3 tenths behind. So it has nothing with Ray Lewis playing faster than he's timed. He just starts sooner. So that's all it is. It's starting sooner.
Quick explosion start, under controlled speed, allows you to be able to move in any direction that you need to move more efficiently, right? That's and then if you have to, then if it's a direct line after that, now you can
hit go.
Right. Okay. That's
Kelsey calls it. He called it fight or flight. I'm like, you're exactly right. Okay, think of fight or flight. Yeah. Flight we call like an airplane. Once when you pull your hips up underneath you and like a track star, you're in flight mode. There's no more fight. A fight's a change of direction. A fight's a movement. Once when you find flight, there's no change of direction you can do. Right. Okay? But if we're not like an airplane for flight and we're like an F1 car and stays in contact with the ground and moving, you may sacrifice a little bit of speed, but you opened up all your change of direction. And that's what people have it so wrong, and I will die on this hill because I can show it on tracking it with simple testing now. You have it so wrong if you train speed one day and agility another day and think that agility is going to get better. Your agility will get worse. It will get worse. You have to train speed and game speed the same day. And game speed is airplane speed, F1 speed, and decel speed. It's everything straight ahead. But you have to teach people, like you said, how to change speeds, what change speeds. Then on the next day, you can train agility, and you can tell people, hey, if I do an airplane splint, what do I have to do when I stop? I have to land and then put on the brakes like an airplane. If I do an F1 car sprint, what do I have to do when I stop? Put on the brakes immediately, right? So now we got 2 different ways to run, like an airplane that track teaches and like an F1 car that I teach. We teach both. I don't want a guy running a 40-yard dash to be like an F1 car. I need him to open up and fly, okay? Because he's trying to run 4.4. But when he's moving around the field, I need him to win F1 car at 4.6, 4.7, okay? Because when he slows down to 4.6, 4.7, he's literally half a step behind at the end of the 40. But if anything happens before the end of the 40, he can do everything. And that's why it all comes into play.
Does their increase in miles per hour, so like let's say they run 20 miles per hour and they're able to increase their speed to 21 miles per hour, does that allow them to run more under control at a faster speed? And does that help them play better at game speed?
So that's the track principle. And I talked to Ken Clark about it. That's the max reserve effect.
Right.
I'm going to push my threshold from 20 to 21. So now when I'm running at sub-maximal speeds at 70%, they'll be faster. And that's called the max reserve effect. It's from track. So a 400-meter runner, 200-meter runner, get his 100 speed up there, 100-meter speed up there so he can run like faster in the thing. It has nothing to do with agility. And it never meant to be. And I have proven that I can show you 20 tests to do. Okay? And that's what we got to convince people of. Use the max reserve effect for track. Use the max reserve effect if you want to do 110 sprints, conditioning faster. Forget about the max reserve effect when we're going game speed and think momentum reserve effect. What's the momentum reserve effect? How many steps do I need to create momentum for me to be between 14 to 17 miles an hour if you're a 20-mile-an-hour guy?
Right.
If you're a 20-mile-an-hour guy, 14 to 17 miles an hour is 70 to 85% of your max V. That's your game speed zone. Once when you start touching 85 or more, you're in your airplane zone and you can't change directions.
Got it.
So you even watch someone like Tank Dell, who I trained. Tank Dell, the sauciest little receiver ever, 161 pounds. Okay, so it's harder to break your body if you're 200 pounds than 161. We agree with that. Tank Dell, before he got hurt, had some of the best breaking and agility you've ever seen. Jim Nagy, who I love from the Senior Bowl, showed Tank Dell after we trained him, but I didn't cause this. Tank Dell does a split release. He just comes to base like Anquan Bolden teaches, crosses over, and dips his shoulder and shows acceleration for 18 effing yards. And then at 18 yards, Tank Dell goes boom, 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 and does a comeback. Gets out in a decel, break, plant, separates to the ball. So they're like, look at this acceleration of Tank Dell. Okay? Now, if Tank Dell wanted to accelerate 20 yards, he'd get to 21 miles an hour. And then by the end of the 40, he'd be 22 or 23 because he can run a low 4.4. Okay? But in his route of sprinting, that deep comeback route, 18 years, it looked like he was sprinting. You know what his top speed was? 17.1. 17.1. So if Tank Dell, soaking wet, is 161 pounds and has the best agility and braking forces of probably almost any human, if he can't run a deep comeback route faster than 17.1 to get out of his break, how many other people you think can? Now what happens is, now we're going to go back. Tank Dell knows game speed. He doesn't know track speed, and he knows game speed. Right. Now, if he runs this 18 yards, and now we have other videos of him, 18 yards and goes to post, you know what he does? He hits his foot in the ground at 17 to 18, hits post, and he goes 19, 20, 21 when he goes and catches the post. Because it's just a 45-degree angle, right? But if Tank Dell can't do it, nobody can. So
going back to like guys like Jerry Rice, for example, who, you know, he wasn't a quote unquote fast 40 guy, right? Is a guy like Jerry Rice able to run at a higher ratio relative to their no? Okay. So when he's changing direction, he's actually going at a slower speed then is what you're saying.
He may be at a higher ratio. Okay. You're right. But like, so if you get a 4.2, 4.3 guy, right? That means that 4.2, 4.3 guy can run 23, 24 miles an hour in a straight line. But once when you make him run a turn, the maximum speed he can average is 13, so he can probably get to about 15 miles an hour in that. If he's going 18 yards and stopping, he can probably get to 17 miles an hour.
Got it.
I'm talking about to get from A to B as fast as possible. Now, if they go too fast, that bend becomes long, or they break down, or like in the Tank Dell thing, he'll go decel, break, plant, get out of it. Well, if you go too fast, or you're heavier, or you don't have deceleration forces, or you don't have right body position and foot placement, all stuff that can be trained, then you're going to get to this stop point, and you're going to go decel, you're going to go break, and you're going to go plant and not be ready to change directions. Okay? Well, I got to come back this way. What's my option? Another step. Well, I'm not going this way. I got to take another step to come back this way. So when you miss that by one step, you miss it by two to change directions. So that 2 steps takes you 2 to 3 tenths longer. So by Tank Dell moving from 17.1 to 18.5, he could easily do it, but it's going to take him 5 steps to get out of that break and not 3. It's going to gain, he may gain that, back to that analogy, 400ths of speed to gain that 1 mile per hour, but he's going to lose 3 to 4 tenths of a second out of his break. So Jerry Rice never was going fast enough to not get out of his brakes clean. Never. So when Jerry Rice
only helped him in running his crisp routes, right? Because those guys, you know, they're considered great route runners. It's because that awareness and all of that. Hey, like we can't be at speed and be able to make this break or this cut and still be now coming out of it. We can, but it's going into it, right? Like going into that, and that's what makes them great route runners. Almost it's almost like using the word like a tempo, right? Like they kind of have that pacing to it where, hey, like I want you to be going fast, but like there's a level of fast within it that breaks it down into even more of a, focal point to know when I have to hit it here or what I have to do here. And those guys that know that in their head, it's why they're it's why they're the best of the best. Look, it's why look, I hate to go myself. I was never a burner, but I could run great routes because look, I just knew when I needed to be at my top speed or when I needed to, like, you know what I mean, turn it on here or dial down here. A lot of guys use the word like dial it down here. Like to them, that's just a tempo within their route itself. And then when you can master those things, I mean, there's never a play where Antoine Bolden wasn't open because he knew how to adjust those speeds and getting in and out of those breaks where it needed to be. That's the difference.
Well, we talk about that all the time. Randy Moss used to get even with someone. Throw his hand up.
God.
If I'm even, I'm leaving. Throw the ball, right?
There you go.
Chris Carter and Antoine Bolden, Chris Carter and Antoine Bolden, and Larry Fitzgerald and Terrell Owens, Travis Kelce. All these people, I love Randy. I think Randy's a freak. But Jerry Rice, all these people had more catches than Randy, because what they would do is they would trust their quarterback would trust them. If they're even in a break, you know what they're doing? They're also effing leaving.
Boom.
Coming back to the ball.
Yes, sir.
So it's like Antoine, we just did a new 20. Yeah, we just did a new 20 minutes with Antoine where he taught me through drills. And that's what we're releasing in December for high school kids is I talked to like an Antoine Bolden type, Mark Ingram type, a Stephon Gilmore type and say, hey, talk to me through what you wish you would have known in high school. And they talk to me through what they – and then I go shoot the drills for these kids. And it's not to take away from their position training. It's like, hey, when you're alone working, work on these drills. Yeah, just work on these drills because this is what the top players in the world wish they'd have known in high school. And you're going to look at it like this is the easiest drill ever, but this is what they do now because they know how important it is. Yes, exactly.
And I think and that appeals to more of a mass number because you're talking you know what I mean? Like if that aiming point is at, high school athletes and we know how many high school football players are what that is, right? Like they are the Antoine Boldens of the world. Those aren't the Randy Moss top speed guys, the freaks of nature, right? Like they're their own group.
Even those guys can learn. So I think what's really cool about this is this can put another tool in your toolbox for no matter what your speed level is, right? So super burner guy can now learn to because I think that. And correct me if I'm wrong when we say super speed guys like track guys, right? They're always been taught just run by guys, right? That's your asset. Run by guys, right? Football coaches from the time they get them at 12 years old, they're telling them that. They see them run, they're like, but those guys can be taught to become better players. That's not the only tool in their tool shed, right? Or make a toolbox. So they allow them to be a lot better if they're able to control their speed. And then on the flip side, it'll also make guys like Derek, like guys who are the slot kind of guys, the guys who have great control over what they're doing, to be able to understand when to accelerate full speed, right? So and when they can use it, because on the flip side, they're always thinking, I'm not fast enough to do that. But they are actually fast enough, like Jerry Rice was, because they control their speed. And then when they change their speed, if I'm moving slightly slower and the guy's running with me, when I turn around to accelerate, now I have that window because I'm an offense. I have that window of opportunity now, right?
Absolutely.
And I have that window, but he still has to accelerate when I accelerate. So I have that window of opportunity so to utilize what your speed is to get yourself open. And it's funny because there are guys that have, like Antoine Bolden, these guys probably did a lot of this naturally. Now you're going to explain this to the world how it all worked. But I think it's so interesting because you see, like in punt return world, right? You see very different types of punt returners. You have the punt returners that people are like, this guy really isn't that fast, but somehow he always gets a lot of yards, right?
Devin Hester and Peter Ward couldn't run under 4.5.
No,
right. They understood the control of speed, when to accelerate, when to brake, and then you have the one cut, like Deion Sanders, the one cut and the sprint punt returner, right? Because Deion had the top end speed. He would go, he would make one cut, and then if he had that window, he would just full speed expel. So I think that's really cool what you guys are teaching, because that gives people the ability to put all these different tools in. And now it makes you more versatile, right? If like you've been told your whole life, I'm only a slot guy, right? Because this is all I've been able to do. Now I learn how to utilize whatever my top end speed, so I can play outside and do some different things there.
The one thing that high school kids are farthest away from NFL guys. It's in order. If we look at size, explosion, speed, and agility. That's what I look at. I look at size, explosion, speed, agility, and try to find a weakness. If I train a high school guy correctly for 6 weeks, the number one thing he's lacking is size and or agility. Now, so the old school strength coach is going to be like, good, Tony's on our side. Let's put him in the weight room. No, this kid's 16.
No.
He's going to gain eight. He's going to gain 8 to 12 pounds a year for 4 years.
By default.
By default. So if he's a 185-pound running back at 16, I promise by 20, if he's playing in college, he'll be 200 pounds. Let's do weights with him still. Okay. If I train his speed correctly at 185, he can run 20 miles an hour. If he's a legit high school athlete, he's going to be running 20. The best NFL running backs run 20 and 21. So his speed is closer than everyone thinks. Okay.
Right.
His explosion is down because his size isn't there, but his agility effing is in the dumps. His agility is awful. So all these coaches, and I'm trying to help them, are trying to get high school kids to play faster. And I'm like, so I'm coming up with this thing with Rock Daisy that says, put in your size, put in your body weight, put in your broad, and put in your 40 speed. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what you're weak at per NFL norm. And it's going to show you that probably what you're weak at is your size most. And that's going to come, and let's get your speed fixed while your size up. But then do these game speed tests. And then you're going to say, oh, wow, that's why I don't play fast. Yes. So every time your coach, and they're not wrong because someone screamed it at them, is telling you to sprint to the ball, Revis and Gilmore are telling us to explode and move to the ball. Look, they tell us to sprint and then what? Come to base. Okay. What about explode, move, and be at your base? Because if we do a sprint again, I can pick up 1 mile an hour if I sprint. Okay. But if I explode and move, I sacrifice that 1 mile an hour, but I can do whatever I want. Right. So that's what playing fast is. And that's what, like, Revis and Gilmore, they tell me. The easiest receiver to guard is the fast receiver. The fast one. They know. All I got to do is drop off. He can't get out of his breaks. The hard ones are like Tyreek Hill. If you ask like Tyreek, I don't train him. He says, I'm never sprinting on the field. I never feel like I'm sprinting. Yeah, because you're so dang fast. You shouldn't feel like you're sprinting. He's running in control. I don't train Justin Jefferson. I know his receiver coach is Jerry Sullivan now, that's on this YouTube network with him. Jerry Sullivan was Anquan Bolden's and Larry Fitzgerald's coach. So Sullivan is teaching Justin Jefferson exactly what Anquan Bolden and Fitzgerald taught. It's like, hey, control speed. Hey, you should know. Hey, close your eyes and run your routes. You know exactly what step is coming. Know your depth. It's all control. If you listen to Justin Jefferson now. Travis Kelce, who we taught, when he's at tight end U, all his clips, I'm like, oh my God. Man, teachers and students to teach now. He teaches it. F1 car, getting out of breaks, setting. And it's all the same. They're all telling us the secret. It's just people are not listening. So the way I've changed it, because game speed is still speed. And that's why I'm changing everybody in December. Y'all think I don't like speed. Game speed has a good word named speed in it. But that speed's like a gun. I don't care what you think about gun violence. I'm not a political activist. I'm just saying, if you have a gun, okay, the best thing to do is have someone know you have it and never show it. That's speed.
Yeah.
It's a concealed weapon and it's sitting under you. But if someone knows you have it, they ain't going to fight you.
Right.
So that's the first, is they know you have it, right? The next thing you don't want to do with that gun, though, is pull it out and show it. Because when you pull it out and show it, it increases the danger. That's the same thing when you choose flight. You can only do one thing. And the only one thing you can do after pulling it is shooting it. And you better make sure you shoot it at the right time. Because when you shoot it at the wrong time in life, you're done. On the field, if you shoot that weapon at the wrong time, that play's over. That's all you got.
Yep.
Right? So I like to now say speed is a weapon. I love it. But so is a gun. And let's start thinking about those the same. Make sure you have it. Make sure you don't even have to show it. If you do, just show it. And then rarely ever, if you look at how many people hit top speed in the game, the number for top speed is like that people use is like 90% of your max speed. Like if you run 20 miles an hour, you know how effing easy it is to get to 18 miles an hour? It's not hard. You have to just find space. You don't have to sprint to get to 18. You just have to find space. So are people hitting top speed in the game when the threshold's only 90% of the max speed because they sprinted fast or because they used agility to find space? Because they used agility to find space. My max speed number on the field is 95%. Find space and have to hit go. Right?
Right.
But the amount of time people are even above just 90% on the field is 1 or 2%. 1 or 2%. I can find that on a field just by telling people to stride out. Just by telling people to explode 3 steps and move. You don't need it. So it's not saying don't do speed. It is. But it's so easy to get to. We try to genetically peak every athlete, especially when they're growing 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 25. All your world records are set when people are 25 years old. That's when their genetic peak starts to go down. Okay? It's just a fact, right? So Usain Bolt sets a world record at 24. He can still go win at 28, but it's not a world record anymore. Your genetic peak is 24 to 26. NFL, they're getting you out at 28, right? That's your genetic peak. So whenever you can have a genetic peak, you can get to it in 6 to 8 weeks. It's not long, but if I get a guy for the combine and I started seeing, I can get this guy 4.65 to 4.42 at the snap of a finger in 6 to 8 weeks. No, you can't. Yes, I can. All I got to do is focus on it. Just got to focus on it. That's my focus. Explosive and fast, no agility. Okay? I'm getting 4.65 to 4. Yeah, I get him 4.65 to 4.42 in 8 weeks. Okay, just like I get an 8th grade D tackle from 5.6 to 5.2. Okay, then that same 8th grade D tackle, Dad, and that same player comes to me and is like, all right, let's keep working. No, we don't have to. I cannot get this D tackle to go 5.2 to 4.8. Now genetics is going to take over. He's going to gain 12 pounds a year and get 1/10 faster a year. And he's going to change from a 240-pound D tackle in 8th grade running a 4.2 to 250 running a 5.1 to 260 running a 5.0 to 260 running a 4.9. And his genetic peak is going to be about 260 to 265 running a 4.8. That's as elite as you can be at that weight. I only had to work with you one time in your life. It's the same thing with this NFL player. I'm going to get you 4.65 to 4.42. You can't keep coming to me and think that 4.42 is now going to go to 4.28. And then that 4.28 is going to go to 4.22. Like, you got a genetic peak. So what we do with our guys is we get them to their genetic peak until they're 25 once a year. And it only takes 4 to 6 weeks. It's not long. Then we dose it in appropriately and move to game speed. But what's one key word with game speed? Speed. So we still do speed when we're fresh, but it keeps you fast, and then we can do all your game speed stuff. So think about a kid who's 14, 15, 16, 17, or these colleges I'm helping. Every year, this 19-year-old kid at Auburn or somewhere, Penn State, they're a genetically different person at 20. Oh. So train them to get them to their genetic peak January, February, and March. Teach them how to move better while they're playing in their season and keep their speed there. They whip back around in January, they're a different person. They got to hit a new genetic peak. Same thing, go through, boom, and then they're a new person. And that's what I'm trying to educate people on, is just a year-round system that I barely changed over the course of time. But now it's so much more evident of why and how to do it because data is telling us.
So in the stage process of it, what you're saying is you have that window of time to each year get them to their genetic peak of acceleration, right?
Yeah.
And then from that standpoint, you're working on game speed, right? And keeping them at that genetic speed level, right?
Let me interrupt real quick and say that one sentence. So once we get their acceleration and top speed as fast as it can be, we're splitting hairs to get just a little faster. Then we start, okay, dosing in max speed at the beginning of the session, 2 or 3 runs of 30, 40 yards, and then move right to game speed.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And then with the game speed part of it, you're working agility, different levels of speed, change of direction, and teaching them techniques to make sure they can control their speed.
Yeah, and it starts first once you get fast first. You
Right.
learn F1 car and game speed next. If you miss that next, that second, your agility is always going to suck.
It's like
So that's where
gears, right? Shifting gears.
Yes.
Like accelerate, right? And then shift gears. Okay.
And think of it like a car. So let's say a car can go 0 to 180. Okay. Well, I'm like, there's 2 options. We can get it up to 120 and hit the gas like a drag race car. Once we go past 120 and hit the gas like a drag race car, that drag race car can't stop. It needs a parachute, right? Or we can say we can get to 120 like a NASCAR F1 car and stay on the gas. That's a momentum reserve effect. I hit the gas, but then I stay on the gas. I just don't floor it. That's how we keep moving. That's a momentum reserve effect, F1 car. What we don't want kids to do is learn all gas and then gas and let off the gas. And that's what they learn. Like, they don't learn that gas and maintain. They learn gas and hit the floor, gas and let off the gas. We got to teach them gas and maintain. And once when you teach them that, it's eye-opening to kids and athletes.
And Dave, think about it. Like, right, think about your 10-year-olds that you coach, right? Like, look, you can tell them, hey guys, we're going, 60% here. Do they go 60%? Do they understand what 60% is? They don't understand any of that, right? It is all go or it's right. So
what I've learned to do with these lacrosse, these lacrosse girls I'm training, I'm like, guys, we're gonna do push-up starts like an airplane because they can't use power to get out of it. This is a simple way I've learned it with high school. Push-up start. Let's build speed for 15 yards. I need to see the whole airplane lift, and then I need you to land and stop before 20 yards because there's a landing and a stop, right? So I don't need without even timing. Then I say, all right, let's go game speed, F1 car. Now get in a split stance, not push-up start. Let's explode 5 yards, move 10 yards, and go directly to break and break by 18. That's a good way of teaching them airplane lifting, landing, stopping, F1 car right into stopping. And tell them when they airplane lift and stop, it's a 15-yard airplane lift, a 5-yard landing and stop. When they go F1 car, it's push, move, 3-yard stop at 18. Now what's crazy is if you put a laser between yard 5 and 15, let's say these girls are running 136 or an elite high school kid is running 120 on the airplane. When you tell them to explode and move, you know how much he slows down? 2 or 3 hundredths. 2 or 3 hundredths. And when they see that, they're like, oh, I barely slowed down. I'm like, yeah, but you stopped 2 yards sooner. So you want to know what 2 yards of space gives us? 4 to 5 tenths. So that's what I mean in coaching game speed first. When you can coach game speed first before moving to agility, it unlocks the agility component. And that's what I've really found out the last 8 years is it's speed first, game speed next, decel qualities while we're training game speed. Then you move into body position, foot placement, and how to hit angles. But when you when you go from speed to hitting angles, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
With and then with respect to like jumping and body control as far as like making plays on the ball, those kind of things, where do they need to be able to leap, right? To leap and have control of their body at the same time.
So awesome. So our thing is explosion, force to form only. Explosion can be done with a broad jump. I like it because it's the easiest thing. Or in any type of sky hook, plyo mat, force plates, right? You can assess it. I think the easiest thing is watch a broad jump. Okay. Now, per your body weight, you should be able to be at a norm. If you can't, you're not explosive enough, right? So if you're lifting weights a lot, you got to work on landing heavy and heavy dumbbell jumps to work your explosion, right? You got to train the other extreme. So you get your broad jump far enough, right? Then you look at that more. So a broad jump far enough, maybe 9 foot for someone's body weight at a level. Then you put a mark at 27 feet, which is 3 times that broad jump. And you tell them to do a bouncy broad jump, right? Okay. If they're reflexive and have a good RSI, they can get farther than 27 feet when they reflex jump. If they can't, they get shorter. So without a force plate Without a plyomat, without a sky hook, you can tell if someone's reflexive enough with that test. Done it on a million athletes, right? So if they got a good enough broad jump, but they can't triple broad jump with bouncing as far as that they're not reflexive. So now we can do, well, how are we going to program that? Not heavy dumbbell jumps, light dumbbell jumps, and contrast training. Like, let's get them to bounce flat, RSI training, right? But then it goes into game speed. Now, once when you can triple broad jump far enough, now we time it. Okay? We do it with a stopwatch now, but we're getting video analysis and a little system to do it. Now, can you triple broad jump 3 times over your broad, and how fast can you do it? Because if you can do it faster, that's game speed explosion. That's the same metric as Jordan couldn't jump 44 inches. Jordan jumped about 38 inches, but he got 38 faster than everybody else. That's explosive game speed, right? And they're exactly right. So many people are I don't like the combine because they're looking at a total explosion number. How high do you vert? How far do you broad? But they're not looking how fast do you get to that number, right? And that's what I look at once we go game speed. So you're exactly right. There's different ways to do explosion metrics. I look at the broad because it's the easiest one to do, and everyone can do it without technology.
Right.
Okay. And I'm a simple man. I look at broad jump, 5-10 fly, 20-10 fly. That's effing it. If I affect those 3, I get you a lot faster. Now, after I affect those 3, I can break down the broad jump into Hawkins force blade, counter movements, a lot of stuff. But I can look at a broad jump and a triple broad and get all that answered. Okay? Acceleration metric. I can look at peak accel on a GPS. I could look at ground time. I can look up, let's see how fast you are 5-10 fly. See how fast you are 20-10 fly. If I look at those 3 metrics, I can see where you're lacking to get to the number you want. And we target that in your speed training. And if your broad is the weakest, that's the first building block. We got to fix it. And that's going to lead to more acceleration. That's going to lead for top speed. But if you're real good on the broad and short speed, but your back speed is long, we may target that a little bit. That's how we get real fast in six weeks. And then after we do that, I'm a real simple man. I just take that 5-10 fly number that I already have, and I teach you, okay, your 5-10 fly is 1.22 seconds. That's as fast as an NFL player. If you want to be 4.3, it's got to be 1.15 seconds. But 1.22 is fast enough. Now we teach game speed. So limited steps, limited energy, how close to 1.22 can you get? Coach, I can barely try and get 1.25. Perfect. There's your game speed. Now we teach run through that zone, and instead of going straight, hit a roll and a comeback. It's just 3 tests. Now I've learned how they turn and how they stop and come back. And we have metrics. Like if you can go straight ahead in 1.20, you should be able to hit a turn in 1.50, and you should be able to hit a comeback in 2.0. If any of those metrics fall off the chart more, you got to work on that. What do I mean by that? People are like, how do I work on it? How about before position training? You got some receivers who can't roll. You got some receivers who can't come back. It'd be very simple to put some receivers working on roll drills and some receivers working on sharp comebacks before they go work with their receiver coach. So there is a whole system that we're releasing. Colleges, some top colleges I don't want to name, are doing it. I'm doing it year round now, but now I have it set for those simple tests of just don't make it overcomplicated. Broad jump, an acceleration metric, a top speed metric, and then a game speed metric. And we start with that. That takes you a year. And then you come back. Now, if you want to look at Hawkins force plate data that I look at, or skyhook or plyomat as part of your explosion, go ahead. But it's all going to tell you the same thing that a broad is telling. Right? You're explosive. Like, so you just got to pick one. You can look at any acceleration metric you want. They're probably like gear 2 on a treadmill is going to tell you is directly going to correlate with their 5 to 10 yard fly, which is directly going to correlate with their 10-yard start, which is definitely like it's all telling you the same. So just pick one. And then once when you build it, hey, I want to look at something else. Figure force plates are going to look at the explosion. A different acceleration metric is going to be in here. Top end metric is going to be here. You can plug in different stuff and work on it. But you don't need to look at all this data all the time. You need to pick 3 or 4 things. Unfortunately for me, the combine picks the 3 or 4 things I have to fix.
Right.
Right. But I don't even look at the 40. I look at their explosion, their acceleration, and top end speed, and work on those 3 qualities to fix their 40.
It makes a ton of sense. It's those elements of game speed, acceleration, and then the body control to be able to explode them and have body control are really the three key things that you need to be able to do, obviously. And then obviously if you're blocking or something like that, fourth generation, right? But that all comes from the other stuff you're doing already, right? So that already did. The last question I have is, what is the balance between the on the field movement work and the weight room for football players?
Well,
and
if
I
we're in
know
our
stages, there are different, probably balances that are needed, but what in general, what do you kind of subscribe to from that standpoint?
I just found you can't burn the candle at both ends, like they tell us that our whole life, right?
Right.
So when you're going for speed and power gains, it is hard to target agility because agility are game speed and demands. 40-yard dash prep or top speed is pure explosive demands. So that's why we break it into two blocks, where our first block is going to be build explosion, acceleration, and then the top speed at all costs. So our workout program is set up around those Monday and Thursday sessions with a light agility and game speed on off days to flush out our legs, but we don't kill it, right? But once when we do that for 6 to 8 weeks, then they go into spring ball. Now we start saying, okay, we're fast enough. Now our Monday sessions are speed first, game speed next, decel next, and then our Tuesday sessions are actually football drills or game speed drills that we're coaching. So now we're just get fast at the beginning of Monday and work on everything else. And we're going to start testing you some stuff on Tuesday, right? If they're playing a lot of football, like a coach that's just practicing them a lot, I like the old Mike Bull effect. Hey, they're getting their agility training in. I'm like, okay, we're just dosing speed incorrectly and still building resiliency for speed for hamstrings. But we also got to build resiliency for high excel decels and excels. So I'm just trying to implode qualities while they're doing agility training. So then they go through their season, then they come back in January and February. Let's stress some speed and power first, move into game speed and agility next. So I found that super easy, and it's fun because the game speed stuff keeps evolving, but not much. Like I still got to catch people up on what Reeves and Anquan told me 8 years ago. I had a hard time proving until GPS data and this testing system came out 4 to 5 years ago. But now the testing is so dialed in because I've done it on thousands of or hundreds of elite athletes and thousands of high school kids, right? And I got a lot of coaches doing the same. So now it's like dialed in those game speed tests. So that's what we're going to kind of release in December of that web I went out there with. It seemed real complicated. And I know that was my mind like spit on a piece of pepper. Now it's easier. It's test speed, test decel qualities and game speed, test roll 90 and coming back. And it's really become that simple.
What system do you use to measure? Like, what do you use for your metrics on that? Like,
I use a laser system for, like, you can use Brower, Dasher, Vald, OVR. I don't care what laser system you use. They're all pretty accurate within themselves. Just keep using the same one.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
But I know, I know for a 5'10" fly, if you're trying to run 4.30, you better be under 115. But I know NFL players succeed very well running between 120 to 128 through that zone. Every high school kid that trains correctly can run 120 to 128 5'10" fly. So that's what I mean. High school kids can be fast enough. But once when they learn that, now they got to learn how to stop. That should only go down like 5 or 7 hundredths from their 5'10" fly. They got to stop at 18 yards. Then they got to learn how to control speed. That should go down 3/10. Then they got to learn how to combat. That should go down 7/10. And I've tested the best people in the world. Like, even if you get faster, it's still like you're just a little faster on agility if you learn it. But a lot of times guys get faster and their agility is worse. Like I had 6 top tight ends from college come in and train with Travis Kelce this year. Of course they whooped him on the explosion, and they were faster than him. Every time we did a game speed test, they were 300 or 400 faster than him on speed, but what were they slower by 3 or 4 tenths on? Every single game speed test. And I'm going to release a bunch of stuff with Travis because Travis did this offseason get up to hitting over 20 miles an hour, right? So I'm going to let him break a long run, and he'll get 19 miles an hour on the field with pads, and it'll be the highest speed he hit for the last 3 or 4 years. And then we'll say, oh, Travis is fast. No, he found some space finally, right? But Travis is going to let me release. He told me, he said, release all the data. I don't care if you tell people how unexplosive I was, that I couldn't accelerate, I was slow. because these college kids all came in better than me. Yeah, they all come in better than me.
He's very open about it. He's very open about it, right? And he's talked about how this year is just, and there's other people around him because he's been so open about how he's, he changed some things and he became more aware of, obviously, like you said, that genetic peak that happens right around age 25. He's way past that, right? And it's that longevity of being in the league. You have to tweak some things from
what's crazy with Travis, and I've got to do it more. So after I had Travis this year and I really started studying it, Travis, when he trained with me and had a pro day, not a combine because he was injured, he ran a 4.58 to 4.63 40, jumped 10.4 on a broad, 37 inches at 258 pounds. That's elite at speed and explosion.
Oh,
okay? Yeah. But to run that 4.63, that means his 2010 fly was about 1 second, 1.0. When he started this offseason with me, it was 1.11. I was like, ooh. That came all the way down to 1.02. His back end speed is almost at genetic peak levels, even at 34, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
What's not there, he can't come close to broad jumping 10 feet. No. And since he can't come close to broad jumping 10 feet, his acceleration metric isn't close to 1.22, which should be for a 4.60. And that would make me freak out. Unless if I had tested Travis Kelce 4 years ago when he was the slowest accelerator in our room and he went on to have the best tight end season in NFL history 4 years ago. And that produced game speed. He only had to be fast enough through acceleration zones. So with Travis, his explosion is in dumps. He's 35. Because his explosion's in the dumps, his acceleration is in the dumps. But it's okay. We got his back speed up almost to peak. And his game speed has always been elite the last 6 years. So it'd be interesting. So like with Tariq Woolen, like these great Denzel Ward, these guys that have great combines now, I'm starting to say, hey, you guys all jumped 11 feet at Indy on the broad. Yeah. Can I broad you right now and see where you're at? They're like, yeah. They're about 8 inches under. I'm like, so all these high school kids are chasing your combine number and you can't even do it anymore? The reason why all those broads and verts are elite, 10'8", 11 foot, and 36 to 40 inches is because we all spent 8 weeks training for it. They're never like that again. They never have that explosion again. What they do have, though, is the ability to touch top speed. That never goes on all the guys I see. And then we coach game speed. And it's really, really like Pop Douglas is a great receiver for the Patriots. Like he jumped 11.4 at Indy. When I brought him right now, he's still explosive, but it's 10.5, 10.6. He's not touching close to 11.4. But if we do his back end speed, that's very close to his genetic peak. So explosion numbers. These high school kids are chasing explosion numbers, and even college kids are chasing explosion numbers from NFL Combine data that never exist again in their life. And that's what I'm putting out there. So I can show where Tariq Woolen, Travis Kelce, Denzel Ward, where they started out of college, where they peaked at, okay, and what they're really at every offseason, right? Because those are the three temperatures we need to take. So I'm trying to get the best in the world to let me release their data, and they're allowing me, just so high school kids can have a more targeted approach, and even strength and conditioning coaches can have more targeted approaches for these high school kids. Because I don't think it's what they think.
I think it also probably is important for college coaches when they're recruiting, and they time them in the summer, right? When they come into the camps in the summertime, and they're expecting this number, they don't end up offering some guys that they think are really good, but they're like, oh, his number is X. You know what I'm saying? And they're comparing things that don't necessarily make sense. Am I right on that?
Oh my God, 100% right. I time tight ends coming out of the best schools and running backs coming out of the best school. Our average running back coming out of the best school pre-times at 4.7. We have to work to get our average running back to 4.4 to 4.5. I had a running back this year pre-test at 4.56. I said, "Oh, you're going to kill Indy." He went and jumped 11 feet, jumped 40 inches, and ran 4.3. I know, but what bothers me about that is I had 3 running backs last year that all went back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in the biggest conferences. I pre-timed them all. They were slow. It's okay. But I had a running back coach from one of those colleges come and try to recruit the high school running back I'm training. My high school running back's 190 and runs about a 4.6. Okay? And he goes, well, if he's 190, I need him to be 4.4. I looked at that running back coach because I was in the middle. I said, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Sorry. I said, who are you talking to?
No.
I said, what do you? I said, what do you think you're? I said, what do you think?
Is okay, man.
I said, what do you think your running back runs that just went back-to-back 1,000 yards? Well, he ain't fast, but he's at least a 4.6, but he's 214. I said, no, he's an effing 4.9. I'm doing everything I can with your running back to get him to 4.5 at Indy. Everything to 4.5. Now I'm telling you, this kid is 190 and runs a 4.6, and you're telling me it's too slow. I'm telling you, next year he's going to be 196 running a lower 4.5. Next year he's going to be 206 running a 4.5. Next year, if things go right, he'll be 210 running a 4.4 if you just don't F him up. Right. So don't tell me this running back, this 3-star running back is not big enough and fast enough. Like, you as a running back coach I told him, don't even know what you're asking for.
Right.
So now he's still got offered by that.
No. He's got to log back in.
Listen, Dave, we're 100% spot on. When people don't understand the numbers.
And we're so excited that you actually clicked the off button.
Yeah. No, but it bothers me so much. I had a tight end, and it was like this tight end went and ran, and he's a legit freakish athlete.
Yeah.
He went to like a top school, Power 4 school, and ran a 4.88, and they crossed him off the board. I sent that school their all-conference tight end, pre-tested with us at 4.97, and then we got him to run 4.71 at Indy. Right? He wasn't running 4.71 until he targeted it for 2 months. And you're telling this high school kid he's too slow when he's the same speed as your all-conference kid. You know? And so it bothers me that is so messed up. And that's what I'm trying to get these norms.
That's why outside of the very, very, very tippy top schools that are always getting, like, for the most part, the highest end recruits, there's such a battle between outside of the top 10% schools all the way through to even the group of 5 schools now, because there's so much variability because they have no idea what they're looking at from a number standpoint. So this guy takes the kid, and that's why you're seeing all these kids now. Like look at Lane Kiffin's quarterback at Ole Miss. He was at Ferris State. He was at Ferris State. He wasn't even recruited out of high school. It wasn't even recruited. Went to Division II Ferris State, and he was the backup this year. And the guy started went down, and the guy's running and throwing and everything, right?
Yeah.
And it's part of their they have numbers on the board that do not necessarily relate actually to what is going on, and it's
ridiculous. That's why, like in our system, where a high school kid gives us his weight is 180 and he's a running back. Well, the average NFL running back after training for 8 weeks is 208 and runs a 4.62. Okay, it's not as fast as you think. That's average. Now, fast ones are 208 and run 4.5, and blazing ones are 208 and run 4.4s. So everybody looks at combine numbers and they look at the top 10 times of the combine. Well, those are the best 10 running backs in the country. That's not the average guy that got into the NFL. So I want this 190. So I don't even want them to look at the 40. I want to say go look at their fly time, because from your fly time, it's a non-human error metric, and it's going to be more exact. So whenever I have these scouts come to my high school and ask me, I do what the great Joe Satowski does. They say, "What's your kid's 40 time?" I said, "How do you want it measured?" And they say, "I don't know." So then I lie. If they don't even know how they want their 40 time measured, I'm going to tell them my running back isn't 4.6. Oh, he's 4.48.
Right.
You know? Okay. You don't even know.
What are those?
Tony,
what are those, as a college recruiter or guy coming in, like, what should they be asking for when it comes? What do you feel like is the optimal way to measure the 40? How should it be done where those numbers are what they really should be?
Well, one should be, I sometimes like them looking at GPS stats on long runs. to just see. Now, if a kid is fresh or not injured in space, that goes a lot into it. You do need a runway to get 20 to 21. If Tariq Hill can only hit 22 miles an hour, a high school kid needs a runway to get 20 to 21. But if you got a high school kid in the game that hit 20 to 21, he's doing something. So he should be deemed fast enough. Or if you just like literally could look at a fly time between 20 to 30 or 30 to 40, that's going to give you a great estimation of his top speed without human metric. I wish they changed it to that instead of 40 times, but they don't. But like normally,
you wish they would change it to what specifically?
Yeah, right.
Just a fly time, like even Indy.
Oh, a fly
Indy should
time,
just
like
put
a fly
a
time.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Indy should just do a
from like not the from personal experience, because we've incorporated some of this into the current high school program that we're at, right? So in the off season, when we started looking at and measuring broad jump, right, for the explosiveness aspect of it, it was incredible, right? Look, this guy can, he might be whatever on the field. But when you start looking at those broad jump numbers, because a lot of these guys, they've never had their broad jump measured, right? You're talking about, freshmen, sophomore, juniors in high school. And then to see the correlation from those numbers, our top guys, I mean, we were juiced out of, hey, guys, if we can have 10 guys jump this, we're going to be a different group, right? And then incorporating the fly times, right? And all of those things where guys aren't so hyper focused on that, hey, your 40 time and your start here and this and that, where there's so many variables where they go to these college camps and, guys are hand timing and it's like, hey, we got 3 guys on the hand. Yeah, we got 3 guys on the hand time, and okay, I got this, you got that, we got this. All right, well, he's a this, right? Like some of those things that we know you can measure it a different way. We kind of tell the guys and make them aware of it. Hey, you're going to go to every camp. Every camp's going to be different, but it's all about in what those programs specifically are looking for, right? So, like you said, I think that's a great measure of it. When a guy comes into your building and it's like, well, how do you want his 40? How do you want to know what his 40 is? And they don't even know that. Come on, dude. Like something else.
Yeah, you can very easily. You can look at either max. If you put a GPS chip on them and tell them to sprint 40 yards, you'll get a max V that's pretty exact. But all GPS chips are different, right? Like Player Data, Titan, all of them, right? Catapult. Like I guarantee you, whichever one's going to juice their miles per hour more is going to be the industry standard of who everybody wants to buy. So you got to be careful, 100%.
Right? Yep. And we just had player data on, right? Like, so we talked to him.
Yeah, and they're great.
What it was. Absolutely.
But they're all going to give you a little, like if you put 3 chips on someone, they're going to have 3 different max Vs, right? But you just got to use the same one. But you can look at max V, or you just do a 30-yard sprint and look at their laser split from 20 to 30. And what I do with our guys is the simplest way is, all right, with this speed, you can run this number. And they're like, oh, I got to be faster than that. I say, well, you better hit a hell of a start then. Right? You better hit a hell of a start or be timed favorably. Because at this speed, this is the best you can do. And now you could go back and look at their broad and say, hey, this is your speed. This speed is telling you 4.75. Damn, but your broad jump at your body weight's telling you got the explosion for a 4.55.
Right.
Okay, like in my numbers, right? So, hey, you're explosive enough, and you should have better acceleration than this number down here. Let's now focus on this back end and get that 4.75 to equal your 4.55 up front and go for 4.55. Like Peyton Wilson was like that. Somebody just put up a stat of him running 22 miles an hour down the field. That's exactly who Peyton Wilson was when I trained him for the combine. If you stood up and had him run, he would fly. Okay? But if you couldn't put him out of a 40-yard start, he couldn't accelerate. And then when you looked at his broad, couldn't jump. And then you looked at his treadmill gear 2, which is a resisted run. He wasn't powerful. So I was like, oh, wow, I just got 3 things. Can't come out of the start, he can't jump, and he can't push a heavy load fast enough. Those 3 things were telling me he's acceleration weak. I was like, he's got the explosion and the acceleration of a 4.65, but he's got the back end speed of a 4.50 when we start. He's like, well, what do I run? I said, you want to go run a 40 right now? You probably run 4.58 and 4.60. He's like, okay. He's like, I got to be 4.3. I was like, you can't be 4.3 because you want to be 240 pounds, right?
Correct.
The best you can be is 4. Yeah, there's a body weight thing.
Absolutely, there's a give and take within that. I also
Yeah. So
part for a lot of our viewers, right, or those high school kids that are they're looking, and it goes back, circling back to it.
Yeah.
You're looking at numbers that are kind of they're fugazi, right? Like these things have been legit hyper focused on for 6 weeks of like, this is all we're worried about. And like you said, I would love to see it like the following year, do it again and see where they're at, or do it again.
Like I guarantee
the progression.
Peyton Wilson still can hit. He just did it. Hit 22 miles an hour in pads. He can still stand up and run. But we had to get his broad jump from, I think, 9.6 to like 10.4. Like that 9.6 ain't explosive enough to run a. He wanted to run 4.3. I said, you ain't explosive enough. You don't have good enough acceleration. And he goes, well, I want to run a 4.3. I said, then you can stay at 226. If you want to be 240, our goal is 4.4. So he's like, okay, so you're like, I want to be 2.4. All right, then now you're going to be 4.4. But if we got to fix your broad and your acceleration metric. Now his top end speed improved some, and it probably improved because of the acceleration in, because that was already at his genetic peak. So like if Peyton Wilson ever comes back, it's going to be another great system. And I know where he trains in North Carolina. He's with a great trainer that trusted me for his combine prep. But if he ever comes back, I'm going to test his max speed again. And I'm sure it's as fast as it was at the Indy. I guarantee his acceleration and explosion has fallen off because he hasn't done it in a while. And I'm going to say, like it had to, but he hasn't been coming out of the start in pure, legitimate, explosively training. So, like, if that holds true with a lot of NFL guys when I test them, now we can teach these kids, you're fast enough. Let's just get bigger and more explosive with time. And let's start working on agility correctly to play fast. But that's going to be, it took a long time for people to understand how easy it was to speed train. And we're just in the age now.
And I think, and you could tell me if I'm wrong with this, but with the development of all of the GPS measuring tools and devices, right? Since that, it's been the ability to put that data and have it and show people, look, these are the numbers. Has that aided in your training? Obviously, because now you can put something down and people can see it like rock hard. Because, other than that, it's just people talking, hey, it is. But that data, so the development of that technology, I guess you could say, has really
the development, the development of data and anyone being able to see how fast someone is and then realizing when they're tired and they're overtrained how much slower they get has been a key thing. So people talk about,
people are walking into Tony's system, man.
People talk about feed the cats, and me and Tony speak often, and I love them. And I'm like, your contribution to this strength and conditioning phase is so big because you finally taught people not to overtrain. I never knew it was called feed the cats. I was like, I'm looking at track principles and I'm trying to run on fresh legs, right? But like, if you don't, that's speed first. If you don't start with that first, the whole thing's messed up. Yep. So me and Tony, people think me and Tony Holler argue because I talk game speed so much. I'm like, no, I'm still talking speed, right? But where it goes into, and we have this great dialogue, okay, make speed the priority, but not the majority. Because once when these coaches make it the majority of their workout running, it turns to conditioning and gassers. Right. And it's not speed. Speed's not the priority anymore. It's the majority, which makes it awful. So you want to make speed the priority and the minority, right? And that's how simple speed is.
It's quality.
And
absolutely.
That's how simple it is.
No doubt. Well, Coach, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Phenomenal stuff. What's your Twitter and just because I know you got stuff coming out, where can they follow you best?
My Twitter is just Tony_Villani_. And then I have an Instagram page, I think Tony Villani, and Instagram for XPE Sports. The best one is Twitter for me. That's the one I really run because it's like coaches, and Instagram's a little showy for me. But yeah, we have a whole.
You're a simple guy, Coach. Right? You're a simple guy.
We have a whole XPE game speed curriculum that's literally every presentation I've given. It's $10 a month. It gives you free content even if you don't want to pay $10. I tell people start there, and if they do $10 and want to quit after a month, I'll give them their money back. It's just meant to make the entry price so low that it takes you a while to learn it all. Most people stay on it 6 to 9 months and then drop off. but it's so you don't have to drop $100, $200 and feel robbed. But we start there. But that whole program is getting 100% revamped in December, to where it moves into, instead of just a bunch of education and drills in the right order and pre-test, it's going to follow an assess, analyze, and specify model. Assessments everyone's doing now, but you got to analyze it correctly, right? That's put in graphs or norms, right, that we got to do. And then you got to, okay, from that, let's specify a workout. And that's simple. That could be as easy as if you have an O lineman that needs to train for speed, and he's definitely form deficient, as most are. Instead of doing squats as your press movement that day, because everyone's going to do a press, right? A hip and knee dominant press. Well, can we do step up high knee as his press dominant? Yes. Okay, now if we do step up high knee with him, you know what he's targeting? His form, right? So if that O line needs to train speed, we got to stress step high knees. If he's in the season, we don't care. We worry about how he's moving blocks. Stay with squatting. So there's tons of different things like that that help program. So you don't take the knee, and back hip hinge out. You don't take jumping out. You don't take anything. But if he's form dominant, he should be working on repeating jumps, body weight bouncy jumps. If he's force dominant, he needs to work on dumbbell jumps, dumbbell jump land. So you don't take the jumping out. It's just from this force or force dominant, you can apply one procedure for force dominant, one procedure for form dominant. And that's what these colleges that I'm working with are starting to do. So it's just the first 15 minutes of every session is an assess, analyze, specify way. And if they're on the field doing sprints, they work on force production or form production, depending on what they're weak on. If they're in the weight room working on legs, they work on force production or form production before they work on legs. If they work on agility or with a position coach, they know is it decel, is it turning, or is it coming back? They work on their drills for 15 minutes while they're freshest before they do their skill work. So you're never taking anything out of the strength and dosage sprinting program. You're never taking anything out of the strength and dosage lifting program. You're never taking anything out of the position coach's position program. You're just giving each kid targeted drill to do for 15 minutes before he works. So that's what I'm trying to be my gift to the world in December. We'll see if we can get it pulled off, because I'm working feverishly on it, making it easy to give.
I'm sure you will.
Well, Coach, if there's any way we can help in any way, shape, or form, man, please let us know. It's been amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time. I mean, we know you got a lot going on, so we just really appreciate it. Got a ton out of it. Look forward to staying in touch and that stuff goes December, man. Really appreciate it.
Perfect. I appreciate it. Start following you guys. Start listening to these things more. So you got to keep learning.
We got some interesting cats that we get on this thing, man. It's always
Yeah, no, you'll definitely enjoy if you dive in. You might go down a rabbit hole. You might end up going down a rabbit hole.
Like, I know my stuff. I like learning, like the Dan Victor rabbit hole or the Corfus rabbit hole on the spring ankle series. I'm like, if Corfus is saying this spring ankle is so important, I'm going to learn it, because I'm not going to waste my time studying it. I'm not being rude. He's already done all this and come back here, and then this and come back here. I'm going to listen to his simplistic approach for the spring ankle series. Dan Victor, I listened to his simple, like, guys like that have been through their rabbit holes. That's who I try to find,
Coach, when we opened the podcast with Corfus, he was playing a guitar.
I believe it. It's awesome.
Okay. Victor had on a Scully hat. Looked like he just came out of a blizzard, and he was ready. I mean, it's been really, like, for me personally, it's been really exciting to dive into that network and to connect with all of you guys and kind of, obviously expand both of our viewpoints on things, because Dave and I have an excellent thing too, because he's coaching youth ball, I'm coaching high school ball, we're implementing stuff and we're trying stuff, and it's an awesome network to be a part of, and the amount of content and willingness to share that each one of a majority of people within this kind of world here, it's just been unbelievable. So we appreciate it.
It sounds crazy. My last thing, that's where all my content in education is going to start being geared towards, is 12-year-old and 18-year-olds. That's where it is, because
look, that's the primal market. That's where you have the
I can train a 16-year-old to be faster and quicker than an NFL player if he knows the drills.
Yep.
And it frustrates the shit out of NFL players, but I use it. I can train a 16-year-old high school soccer player to be quicker in game speed than an NFL receiver. And it humbles them. And I'm like, all they know is game speed and move. So that's where all my content's going. So I can't wait to share it. I appreciate y'all.
No doubt. Before I let you go,
Appreciate it,
one
Tony.
last thing that's very funny is that you know how you purchased the you end up taking over a facility. What was the Velocity Sports? I did the same thing. In 2009 or 10.
Nine,
I
think it was.
Mistake I made in the
That's when
facility.
I did it in 2008. Why do you think Velocity was selling them all to idiots like us? Sorry, you're not an idiot. I bought mine in 2008.
I went through the same thing, dude. I went through the same thing.
It lasted 2 years. The people I bought it out from, I turned it around. They came back in as my partner and then started losing money again. I said, I'm out. Have everything. I'll move to Florida. It was awful.
I went through the same exact thing. A year and a half later, got rid of it. I already had a couple of facilities that were doing really well, and I was like, "Oh, it was a mistake." But when you said it, I was like, "Oh my goodness!" I remember doing the same exact thing. It was crazy.
Yep.
That's
what I want to do next is help private gyms that are trying to move from that beautiful 2,000 to 5,000 square foot model and think they want to go to the 8,000 to 12,000 square foot model. And just tell them the advantages and disadvantages of it, because I have found that to be the death sentence of business. If you have a successful 2,000 to 5,000 square foot model, like you're one of few that make it right in that business sector, like you're probably in the top 20% if you stay in business. But then when you try to move to the 12,000 square foot model, like your success rate probably goes down to 5%.
Eric, how many times have I told you this, right? I told you, we had a small facility. It was a home run. When we went
I think that's a lot of people think that, right? Like a lot of people think that, hey, bigger is better. Sometimes that ain't the way to go, man. It's not.
You know how many big boxes and some national brands I sell shred mills to, who I have to go repossess the shred mills? I never repossess them from a small time private trainer. I never repossess them from a high school. I don't even want to name the brands that have some shred mills that I got to go repossess, because they're like, "Oh, we need two, but we'll pay for one, and I'll pay for the next one in 30 to 60 days after." I'm like, "Okay, I'm a nice guy." And they're like the biggest brands you can know. They're crazy. It's funny.
No, you're
small.
Great conversation, Tony. It was really a pleasure meeting you too.
Yes, sir. Anytime, y'all. See y'all later.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That was just as good as it comes, dude. As good as it comes. As good as it comes. Oh,
there's one common denominator with a lot of these guys, right? Like we talked about, they all just want to learn more, right? Yes. And they want to know the willingness to be open about, this is what it is, this is who it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not withholding these secrets or this or that, and they just want as much information about every aspect of what they're doing, right? And I think that, it takes like the ones that we see are successful or have a bigger stage is because of that, right? They're just willing to talk about it. They're willing to share what they know. And at the end of it, it's always about what more can I get, right? Or, I think that's honestly the willingness to like come on, our show is I can get a bigger audience where now the feedback off of what I say and those types of things can only aid in what I want to do, moving forward, right? You see a lot of these guys start to pivot in terms of what they're doing or the market that they're kind of aiming towards, right? I think a lot of these guys that now go to that, 10-year-old to 18-year-old range is because that's where the most amount of willingness to do some of these things are, right? It's that, middle school, high school, coming into their own, right? Like the development, how do I do this? How do I do the science? I mean, dude, that stuff, it's like those guys, man, they're just on a different level. And it's awesome to talk to them because every one of them has their own personality. And it's really all, you look at a guy who's trained the best of the best for a really long time and continues to put out the best of the best every year, right? And humbling NFL pros, all pros, Pro Bowl guys, like the best, gold jacket guys, and just the willingness to be like, hey, man, like, you're not doing some things right. And okay, you know what I mean? Like, hey, what would you have just to ask that question to an NFL pro, right? I think that's an amazing question in terms of what do you wish you knew as a high school guy that would have helped you, right? And
no doubt.
that to put that out there, right? I just think that's just unbelievable in terms of like,
what I love
back and taking it to the next level. It's so cool.
You know what I love too about what we're doing with this is that not only are we having on so many guys that are obviously really knowledgeable and everything, but a lot of the from obviously all the different sports, but from nutrition to strength to speed, right? To what it's allowing to do is to get all these guys that have really great ideas and great knowledge bases and are experts in this or experts in that, or
right.
or even if they're not super, they have good knowledge in this or good knowledge in that, right? It gives people an opportunity to kind of get really, really good information and on a topic. And then they can go and say, hey, what Tony Villani does, I like that. I like what Tony Holler does. I like what Corfus does. I'm going to integrate those three things into my program. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or I like, and then they can experiment with that and say, okay, this works really well for me. It doesn't work really well for me. Whatever. You know what I mean? And because I always get to I mean, obviously, I think you're like this. I'm definitely like this. I mean, if you saw my basement now, you'd be like, like, am I running a laboratory? By the way, you know who's also part of the laboratory? Not just my son, but myself. Like, I try all these things out. I try them out.
Right.
Like,
well, I'm that way too. Like, for me, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to give firsthand feedback and say, like, hey, I did this, right?
Yeah.
This is what I felt, or whatever it is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I can't do anymore is really run.
Of course.
But I could do all the other stuff. I could do all. I could still jump, enough, and I could still do. But if you saw it, Derek, if I brought you down here, you probably would just start laughing if you saw.
Well, I love it. It's your lab, dude. But that's what you're supposed to do too. And you also have, a son that's at that age of development where a lot of these things you can implement and kind of look at and say, hey,
he's got an issue too. So he has a major growth issue that I'm trying to figure out. Like, I mean,
you're talking about his feet, right?
The deceiver's disease. Like, it's both feet, by the way. It's not like,
it's both.
Yeah. No, when you have it, it's just a matter of what flares up. So when he was in the boot, it was that the one foot was really flaring up. Now it's kind of both, and it's back and forth. It's listen, unless you just decided to not do any sports for him, unless you said,
right. And then you're ending his life, basically.
The only way you're not going to have pain is if you just do nothing, okay? And in this, and then there are ebbs and flows, right? So he goes to therapy over at RIPT, which they're great, and they do a great job. But there's still limitations, right? Because it's the bone. It's the Achilles pulling on the bone, right? And
it's what is it? What's it called? It's the deceiver's disease.
Deceivers. Until your growth plate closes when you're 15, okay, or 16. Until it actually closes, it doesn't mean it will happen, but there's always a potential that it could flare up. So until you actually become quote unquote a man and you're no longer like growing significantly anymore, once you have it, it's potentially a thing. Now, a lot of athletes have it, and it goes through.
Of course,
it goes through ebbs and flows, and there are times, and honestly, a year from now, it could go away, and he never have a problem again.
Never have a problem again. You kind of grow out of it, or whatever it is.
You don't know, and so like
the only way to heal it is to fully shut it down, and even if you do that, they might flare up again the second
Yeah,
you go back, just because it is what it is. Unless you're
right.
constantly like going and taking pictures. Of course.
I could take a year off, and you would say, "Oh, I took a year off. It should be great." And he could go out a week later, and
boom.
You'd be like, so it's not muscle. You know what I'm saying? It's not muscle or tendon related where you could build the strength back up. You can do that. There are things you can do that help it. And so that's one of my, like, believe it or not, that's one of my objectives is how do I continue to help him while he's got to work around this, right? And
a lot of mental, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna have to do the mental side of this with him to be like, buddy,
because it's just
and
too
look,
much thing, you know.
To me, right, especially being a parent now, right, I can like for this to happen to him at the age he's at, right, prepares him for just life in general, man. Where look, shit's gonna happen.
He was rolling.
You're not going to be able to, right? Everything's going great, and then bam. And you know what? And then look, you did everything you were supposed to do to heal and be okay, and it still might not be right. So it's just such like a back and forth with the teaching of like just life in general. It's why anybody like sports teaches life, man, because shit happens. And now for him to have to kind of juggle this, hey, well, this is what I do. I play sports, right? Or to, hey, I got to go through a little, right, like pain, or, I got to fight through some things and I can still be okay with it, right? Teaches that aspect of like the comfortable being uncomfortable type of thing. That's life, man. Like, you're gonna live majority of your life in an uncomfortable situation where you're just gonna have to tolerate or fight through, or just go do it. Like, that's just part of this thing, man. It's something I see a lot of my with the high school guys, man. It's there are some that when the going gets tough, they've never face any of that because look, either things just always went well, or mommy or daddy kind of like covered it up and helped them out. And so when things go bad, it's right in the tank, man. And then you have some that have been through some things, and when things go awry, they hyper focus in on it. And you know what? Like, coach, we're just going to get this done irregardless of any of these outside factors that I can't control. And that's a huge teaching thing.
Control. And if you can't control it, or if it's something you have to work around, you have to figure out how to work around something. And it's part of it's part of it. It's
tough.
But it's been a child, but it's a big learning thing. Like,
huge learning thing, man. Huge learning thing.
You just keep working around it. But I think out of it, like, that's all athletes have to learn at some point, right?
Dude, like, you're gonna have to overcome
everybody when they're young. Someone will, now they catch up to you.
Coach just talked
tool, right?
And like genetic peaks. Right? Like, he just talked about that aspect of it. Like, look, there is a freaking window here, man. That's why it's, NFL wise, it's so important to get to that second contract. That's 25 age range is right around where you're peaking. And that should be that's your what? First, second, well, maybe now a little, third, like that used to be like your second or third year in the now. For some guys, it might be their first if they're, staying in college for whatever. But age, that number matters when it comes to sports, because your body, right? Like Coach was talking about, your car, right? And all of that stuff starts to change and break down a little bit, right? Which is why the nutrition side is so important. The recovery side is so important. How you train, how much you train, the way you train, all of these things we talk about off the field are so friggin' important. And when we were playing, they weren't in the microscope like they are nowadays, dude. Because if they were, you would have had more years. I would have had more years. And those years would have been more of something, because that's just what it is. The longevity of it now is so tied into those things that weren't just the X's and O's of it.
True. And one of the things I learned when I had the injury and I had to sit out a year in college, and they were
God damn, dude. That's tough.
And they told me I couldn't. They said I was never going to play again at that point.
Right. You get that quote death sentence, and you're like, what are you talking about, dude? This is all I've ever done. Right.
I went home in camp. I went home for a couple of weeks. They're like, just come back when school. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it. I came back.
Right.
I met with the therapist, and the therapist did not believe what they believed. Right. So I was like, shit.
Okay. You're like,
and she was like, well, let's work it through. Let's
this guy's giving me a chance. This guy's not giving me the death sentence. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a different view on it.
Yeah, let's work it. Let's do things that get it stronger. Let's make sure we're more flexible. I didn't even know what yoga was. She had me doing yoga exercises and stuff.
Right, and you're like, what am I doing, dude?
I didn't know, but combined with combined with strength training, combined with therapy, combined with the stim and all that stuff, and I learned from that experience. And it's funny because I can't remember her name now, which is sad. But I learned.
You'll text me later and be like, "Yo, it was this one."
Yeah, and if she was in front of me, I kind of can visualize what she looked like. I can't really remember, but what I did learn was that you have to figure out another way if you want to do something. Yes. So if you get a roadblock, if you really want to do it, you've got to figure out a way around that wall, and some
guys aren't willing to do that
out. And when I did it, and then I came back, like everything at that point was gravy. Like yes.
Oh, come on, man! Once you go through a little adversity, the hard stuff becomes easy as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that stuff that you used to bitch out or complain or what, this is, dude, that stuff. It's like, really? Right. The empathy aspect of it. Right. Like I'm that way when it comes to a lot of things like, oh, my grandma died. She was 97. I'm like, all right, well, I lost a cousin and he was 21. So the empathy there, right? Once you go through some of that adversity and some of those things, just change your mental makeup to it, right? That's hey, true. I got a sprained ankle. I'm out 4 to 6 weeks. Well, dude, I've sprained my ankle. And you guess what? Guess what? After 3 weeks, I was back going through it. So I get where you're at. But let's go. What are we doing? You can fight through that, right? Because you've seen the other side of it. Whereas a lot of guys, the first time they do one of those things, it's the end of the world because they've never fought through anything, right? So to me, that's what parenting is preparing you and helping you through those uncomfortable times when you want to quit, when you want to I'm done. It's over, right? Like, hey man, this ain't the end of the world, right? You're going to deal with this.
His tackling was very suspect, but because he's not I mean, thank goodness I have a lot of athletes, so I don't have to run him if I don't need, I don't have to because I got a lot of guys. So a lot, me with running quarterbacks. Obviously, I like to run them, but I don't have to in this case as much because I have other guys. So but with defensively. That's like he had, even though we lost, he had 2 great tackles on their studs. Okay. And I was like, I said, and one kid is great. Both kids are great players. They have 2 great, Red Bank has 2 kids that are, I have to say, are really, really at that age. I would put them up against anybody individually. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One of them is Lane Johnson's nephew. So
genetics.
And when he tackled him, he's 5'7". Okay, at 10. And by the way, athlete, not heavy or anything like that.
No. Yeah, I bet.
We tackled him in the game and brought him down. It was 101 in the open, and I was like, see, that's why you tackle me against the what do you call those things that you sit on in your living room? The soft things, the big cushiony things, whatever they're called.
Oh,
And,
like the giant, yeah, I know what you're talking about. The giant, like bean bags.
Yeah, so I have my shield, and you tackle me into the beanbag, right?
There you
So
go.
I think that's why we do 10
That
of
stuff.
those a few times a week, just because you get more confidence, right? If you can hit me
100%.
at
You can hit
270
anyone.
pounds,
Yep.
and then then you'll feel confident tackling a kid bigger than you, or kid moving fast.
Absolutely. Put them
And
in those situations. They have to become aware. The self-awareness factor is a big thing when it comes to confidence, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to, oh my God, he's so big. Oh my God, the eye test, right? The optics of, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And it's like, buddy, you're just as big, right? Like, I have a kid this year. He's a junior, first year coming out, basketball player, but he's built like a brick shithouse, dude. And his hands are massive. And slowly and steadily, just bringing. And he's playing like our tight end spot, which is a split out tight end, more of a receiver type, but he's got a block in space. And it finally clicked last week in a game, in a JV game, where he just like bodied a kid on the edge and was like, oh. And I'm like, yeah, man, like, you can do this when now you have this part of it, knowing I'm bigger, faster, stronger. And if I just execute and listen to you, right? Because that's not the problem, right? Because he's never played the game before. So whatever I say is what he's going to do, right? Like, and he asks great questions, and he's all in, and he wants to be really good. And he's got the catching aspect of it. He's 3 touchdowns on Monday, dude, as a tight end. And 2 of them were over 40, right? And he ain't a burner, but great mitts and tough catches, dude, like moving on the go and all this stuff. He's got this blocking aspect of it where he's got good feet. We're working all that stuff. Like, he's starting to see like, oh shit, like, I can do this, right. And it's because his parents are, hey man, like, if he wants to do it, he wants to do it. And they know they're basketball people, so they know nothing about football. So it's like, how is he doing, right? And it's like, look, he's doing great. You know what I mean? Like, dude, but it's like, but I mean, like, it's smooth, man. Like, you never hear the ball hit his hands. He's got great body control in terms of like, he can catch corner routes that are, on the other side. All the tools, man, to like, wow. And it's cool to see like him like open up even more so, because that confidence now is there, not just on the field, but like, now he's off the field, he's more confident, right? And he's willing to, just do those little things. But it comes back to that mental like wall that you have to break through in order to get like where you want to be. And if anybody who's played football knows, like, you're healthy on the first day of camp and that's it. Like, you're always going to be dealing with something of bump or bruise, but you know the difference between being hurt and being injured. You know what I'm saying? Like, not everything is I got to go to the trainer, right? And that's not, saying, oh, tough it out or any of that shit. Like, you got to know what it is. Football is a violent, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to be uncomfortable most of the year. There's going to be that thing that every game it gets hit and you're like, ow, right? Like, oh, that's still there. And it's going to feel by Thursday, but Friday night, it's going to get hit again. And it's the same shit. But you got to fight through that. And that's what life is, man. Like, things are going great and you're tired. You got tired, or you know what I mean? Someone in your family gets sick. Like, shit's going to be going on where you got to go and fight, man. And that's why I just think sports are such a great teaching tool to use in terms of there's always going to be something going on no matter what, even within a football season. Like, it.
Yep.
I know it. Week to week,
no doubt.
Week to week, you're putting out mini fires here. Just let it become a wildfire, right? Like, every week has its own what the hell, you know what I mean? Situations where you're dealing with it on and off the field, right? How do we block technique this week, right? Like, that's the on the field stuff. Or, I failed the test and now I got to stay after to retake it. Well, that's an off the field. Like, you're just dealing with all that stuff, and that's life. Like, it is what it is, man.
No doubt about it. No, it's awesome. It's awesome. Great pod.
Dude, Tony was awesome. He's dude. Awesome,
good.
man. I mean, he was really all in. And it's so funny to hear them when they're, guys, when they're like, oh man, you should have got in touch with me sooner. It's like, yeah, man, but you don't want to you don't want to overstep the boundaries. You still want to have that respect thing. But I think it's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I think you can get whatever you want. I think you probably should go after Greg Olson and get him going.
Oh, dude, he's so funny. He's
come on.
Did you watch the clips of him, the coaching the game, yelling at the refs and stuff? And I just kind of laughed because his father's on the sidelines with him, and his old man on the field. Holy with the refs, and it's so funny to see his son now, literally, he's probably on the sideline half the game, just kind of like, well, I used to do that way worse. I used to do that way worse. But I mean, do you think other parents on that team even realize, dude, you have, nobody even knows that Chris Olson's probably one of the, most legendary coaches, best coaches in New Jersey football history. And then Greg playing at such a high level, Luke Kuechly playing at a high level, James Stewart playing at a high level. Your son is getting coached by amazing human beings, on every, where are they going to go from there, dude? You know what I'm saying? They're going to go to college and be like, well, what the hell?
I bet you it's harder on them as coaches being guys.
Why? Because you think you think everybody's like, oh, well, you guys are NFL guys, we should be great.
Yes, and translating, the hardest thing about coaching youth and even middle school is translating all of the knowledge you do have.
Right.
Being able
sometimes it might be too much
to get kids to understand that, and knowing where you got to do that. That's not easy because
execution.
You have a lot of knowledge, and you got to know that this is how much they can retain, and there's stages that they can retain it in. And
Dave,
then you build.
How often do
building a house?
Of course, yes. It's steps. We're taking steps, right? And Nick Saban, it's a process, and you know what I mean. For me, how often do I talk about knowing your kids, knowing your team, knowing your players? You've been around this group now since they were 6, 7, whether it be, flag 7-on-7, right? Or other sports, right? These kids and what they are, which can only aid in how you coach them and what you get out of them, because what's too much, what they can handle, right? And even with that, that's still a feeling out process because, they mature, they get older, their interests change, all of those types of things, man. It's a huge coaching that a lot of people just think, oh, well, we just roll out a ball and draw up some X's and O's. No, dude, that ain't how it works.
No, there's no doubt. And by the way, we were now using go route in a totally, I don't know if you've ever used this way, you probably have, but we realized that with 11-on-11, we weren't taking great angles all the time. So we've now started to utilize where you just have the tight ends, all the skill guys, and got rid of the middle guys, and have take angles based off of the plays, without blocking, so they take the proper angle to where these guys are going with the ball. It's really interesting because you just give them the go route. It's still the same thing, you know what I mean? But you don't have to worry about the linemen. So the go route.
So when we use them, okay, for, let's say we're going defensive, we're going team D, right? So I have the scout offense. Dude, the offense is, right, the skill guys have the go, they all have the go route, but the skill guys have where you're going, what you're doing. And for the line, I just give them our play call, right? We
draw it out what they block, actually. But I'm saying
we've had to do that a little bit this week because we're seeing wing TV, all that kind. But when the other weeks, when it's GH counter, hey, here we go. Clemson, Tiger, right? I give them our play call. You know what I'm saying? For the line. And now they're like, okay, well, we're just blocking this. Or, hey, here's Washington. Oh, okay, we're just blocking that. You know what I'm saying? And then the skill guys, it's like, hey, all right, you got this. This is our. I try to verbiage, right? Because the defensive guy, he'll go in and put it all in, and then I'll go in, change all the verbiage for them, so it's our stuff. And then they're like that, dude. It allows us to move even faster.
Right, because you're just telling the line. I just have to look at. I mean, I go. We're able to go so fast, but by taking the line out, you work it on angles. So, like, let's say you're a defensive end, your rush angles and all those kind of things, so they don't. Because sometimes with the line and all the people, they'll take a bad.
Oh yeah, it's too much.
Too many
because it's or this guy's not where he is, or like you're not
almost
seeing
like
it the same.
Option, you know how you do option. You do option period.
Nobody has the ball.
Oh no, well you do it with pitch responsibilities, right?
Yep.
Pitch responsibilities so everybody gets.
We've been doing it all week this week because we're seeing a Delaware wing T team. So it's like, hey, you got the dive, you got the pitch. Hey, here's your read. You're cross reading this. But listen. I'm not nervous, but I just know, like it's you have to be a very Manalapan number 5 in the shore, buddy. Southern's 4, Manalapan 5. Oh yeah, dude. Like, and Dave, I'm talking like wing T, like buck sweep, and like this is. But in order to do, like, you have to be disciplined and you have to be willing to do your job, right? Like, well, coach, I could have made not your play to make, right? Like, not your job. Like, just do your take 2. If 2 guys are blocking you, that's a win, right? Or hey, you gotta know your tendencies, right? Like, when 44 is in the game, it's 100% run, or you know what I mean? Or wherever 71 is and he pulls, that's where the play is going 92% of the time based off of the last 5 games we got him, right? So for high school kids to just do that and execute that consistently, right? And because the one play you don't, boom, now they're banging their head on a goalpost. You know what I'm saying? And they're a talented team, man. Yeah, they have a good running back who's got X. The next 3 weeks, man, we're seeing some players. I mean, like, they have a really good running back with great balance, never goes down, right? Like, unless there's 4 guys on him. So you got to swarm to the football. And, this part of the season where you kind of separate it, right? Because this is like, we're talking about who's going to make the playoffs and, are we in? Are you out? Are you getting a home game? Are you not? But you got to take care of business and freaking win. And it's hard because it's a long season. You're in school now, right? And all that stuff is coming out, right? This is right around the time when teachers start emailing like, so-and-so is not doing well in my class. And you just got to deal with it, man. Like, you just rely on hopefully that your team is, mentally ready and physically ready. Because I got guys out for the season with broken foot and this and that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's, like I said, it's week to week. What fire are you putting out? You know what it's like as a head coach, dude.
No doubt. Wow, Neptune is 4-1.
Dude, they're scoring.
Oh,
they're scoring. Look, if you look at the shore right now, obviously, like we talk about this all the time, like the big dogs. I wasn't gonna say it. You did, right? It is what it is. But I mean, look, Red Bank Catholics 5-0, Rumson's 4-1, Homedale's 3-1, Mid North's 2-2, Middletown South's 1-4, Marlboro's 2-3. That's that division, right? Go down south. Brick Memorial 3-2, Donovan 2-3, Point Borough 2-3, Jackson 2-3, Toms River North 1-4, right? I mean, look, Manalapan 4-1, Wall 3-2, Villani 2-3, Howell 2-3, Township 2-3. Like, dude, there's a lot of my division. Southern's 5-0, Central's 4-1, we're 3-2, Toms River South 1-4, Manchester 0-5. I mean, guys it's Red Bank 3-1, Manasquan 4-1, and dude, Manasquan is loaded. Mattawan 3-2, Shore 2-2, Colts Neck 1-4, Long Branch has
one, right? And Shore.
Red Bank just beat Shore. They're on a nice little run right now, dude. They're on a nice little run. They're kind of doing their I mean, listen, they and look, they have Ocean this week, who's like getting better.
Oh my God!
Manasquan, Mid South, Long Branch.
How'd they
What's
get
that? So you know how the Shore works, right? Like every year, someone goes up, someone goes down. Look at like my cousin at Manchester. Last year he was, state playoffs in that division. Now he gets bumped up, and now he's with us, and now he's struggling, right? So a lot of factors, man. But it's more of the games outside of your division are like it's brutal. Like if you look at we're a small, and I talked to you, we're a small group 3, right? But we're playing. Look, the teams. I mean, dude, it's unbelievable, right? It's crazy to look at the team that we play and what they are, right? So Southern, they're the number 2 overall right now in Group 5 South, right? Group 4 South, right? Group 4 South, you have it's
well, your division's a mix. You got really good ones.
Manalapan, right? Which is like we're playing all bigger, right? Manalapan, number 2 overall in the playoffs right now for Group 4 South,
right?
Manalapan's Group 4.
Oh, 4.
Manalapan's a 4. Brick Memorial is 3. Central is 4. Like the 2, 3, and 4 seeds in the playoff are on our schedule, and it's like, okay, add the number 2 Group 5 right now. That used to be a good thing when you were like, if you beat teams because you're playing up and get those more power points. But since they've kind of like watered that down a little bit, it doesn't make any sense to play those teams. You know what I'm saying? Right. Red Bank's the number 5 seed right now in that group, and then you got to play, a Manasquan, right? Like towards the end, and they're they're 4-1, right? Like they're 13 seed. They're in the playoffs. Like every team we play is a playoff team. And look, it is what it is. They give you your schedule, but when you put out, I want to play this team, this team, this team, and you give your 3 choices and you don't get any of them, and that's who they fill it with. When the teams we played last year, like, what, they don't want to play us? Like, okay, I get it, but really? So put it this way: if we're in, we'll be ready to be in. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I can always justify a tough schedule, because in high school for us, when we were a Group 1 playing 2s and 3s, we got to the playoffs. It was like, dude, this is, what are we doing? This is cake. Finals. But look, man, it is what it is. Play your schedule and kind of go. But the Shore does it a little different.
Oh, it's interesting stuff, dude. Really
yeah, dude. Look, your old Japan boys, they're killing it.
Oh yeah. Well, they just beat round.
Look, number 1 overall seed, 5-0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see. Right now, if the playoffs started today, they're playing
This
Schneider.
week would be a good game. This week they play Northern Highlands, who's good.
I mean, look, their schedule. I mean, look, they play who they play. They got Northern Highlands, Wayne Hills, and then Pascack, right? And Hills is undefeated. Hills has Wayne Valley this week. That'll be a phenomenal game. I think that rivalry is really back. Passaic Valley, who's tough, who we've talked to, right? They're playing West Essex, Wayne Hills, Nutley, Lakeland. Like, schedules are North Jersey football is alive and well, buddy, because those teams that everybody, like, they're teams, dude. Like, they are. They have some tough teams. Butler's a 3 seed. They're just running through everybody.
You know who's pretty good because they got a player back? New Milford.
New Milford. Wow.
Yeah.
They got a player back from one of the Peroques?
Yeah, they got back St. Hilaire.
Oh, yeah.
So
they are 3-2. They're 3-2 right now, and they're listen. Oh, that's nice. They're playing Saddlebrook this week, and then they got Butler.
I don't think he played. He was hurt in the beginning of the year. I don't think he played.
You can see it because look, it was They only
First game was last week.
Because look, they lost to Lyndhurst, only scored 7 points. They lost to Hasbrook Heights, only scored 7 points. They probably held them out for Secaucus. It was only 6-0 they won. And then last week they dropped 28. There you go. So Hawthorne, 28. There you go. Now they have Saddlebrook. He'll run crazy.
He had 19 carries against Hawthorne for 229 yards.
Listen, his biggest test will be on the 11th when he goes,
That'll be a game now, though, because of it. That'll be a game.
100%. I mean, look, and we've talked, dude, Butler, right? 27 points, 28 points, 42 points, 35 points, right? Haven't given up more than 14 a year. Like,
they
got Hasbrook Heights this week.
Yeah,
Heights is in there. Listen, we've talked to Coach Surrey. Like, they're on a night. Look, and they lost their first one by 1 point in overtime. So that probably helps them.
Yep. All right, I gotta go because it was great conversation.
Go talk. What are you going to talk some UConn?
No, we're gonna do the what do you call it show? The the show where we do like the great mysteries of
oh Jesus Christ! What are you doing? The JFK murder?
Yeah, we do all that shit. We did Kennedy today.
Yeah, you guys have done some weird shit, bro. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. That's why some of the guys are like, what's this mystery? Dude, it has nothing to do with the Prospect podcast. Don't worry about it. Like, just, at least I know if they're like rebel Republican. I'm like, don't worry about that either. Like, don't even worry about that. Like, they're like, this guy does a lot of shit. I'm like, yeah, check his YouTube channel, dude. Like, it's why he's freaking raking it in, dude. It's why he's got a freaking silver plaque or whatever fucking on his wall for YouTube, dude. Like, I tell people that subscribers, they're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, dude, there ain't that many people that have that shit.
No, it's still going up. It's still going up. It's still what are we at? I don't even know.
Is the
1.5
is that the biggest? Is that the largest one on your social media? Is that where you get them, or is it still your Twitter that gets the most traffic, or your TikTok?
No, my YouTube is
it's incredible. It's
TikTok,
huge.
TikTok is like residual because all these old videos I have.
Right, you say like
I don't know how their algorithm works, but like a lot of
that's what pops up, and people are liking shit from like years ago, right?
Years ago, like I have like some of these videos that have like millions and millions of views, but it's like I'm still doing like maybe 1 million views a month on TikTok, but it's not. I mean, some of it is the new content, but it's not the new content. Like I'll look up, I'm like, people still look at this video. It's like from 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what's TikTok algorithm is different. YouTube is consistent. I mean, it's
awesome.
That's between 50 and 150 million a month views. Now, most of it's the shorts, okay, but still,
right? But dude, it's still. Yeah. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I mean the regular podcasts account for. I'll tell you right now. Regular podcasts. They're doing like between 5,000 and 10,000 a month in views. The podcasts.
It's awesome.
It's not bad. I mean, remember, it's very long form. I mean, we're going for hours.
Right. It's so opposite of
a lot of the stuff. Like if we wanted to do 5-minute videos and quick hitters, we would get a lot more views. You know what I'm saying? Like our 10-minute pod. It's just, but that's not entertaining. So, to me at least,
no,
I don't want to get it.
And people don't want to.
Right. The people that watch our videos are invested.
Correct.
In that process. You like really, really are. It's very unlike the entertainment side with the shorts, I would say. That the videos that we're doing are I don't want to say it's education oriented, but for lack of a better word, it is, right? Like it's really educational component that the people that watch it, coaches, like people we know, they really dive into it and they grab bits and pieces of it, and
Of course, they take it and they use it for what they want to use it for.
Yes. Then the shorts allow me to fund us doing podcasts, which is great. So I got to keep doing those and churning those out. But yes, it is. It is.
So cool.
I think it's great, and I'm starting to post a lot of the old ones and catching up.
Yeah. It's so funny because it pops up, and I'm like, Spotify, when it pops up, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm like, yeah. And then I look, oh shit, that was okay.
That'll help too, as more people view it on Spotify, which is obviously the other big channel, as that keeps growing. Because I started posting those, and that's how I know we got a good following, because I wasn't posting really anything on Spotify, and then I started posting everything, and the Spotify viewership has gone up like 100% in the last like 30 days. So that means that I have to obviously post that. That's where I think a lot of people like the long form, because you're driving in a car, you know what I mean? And you're listening to it.
Right. And you just put it on. Look, that's when I listen to my long-term content ones, right? Like if it's not a that week, it's one of the books that I got that, because I use the Audible thing, which is cool because you get like that's cool because it's like, but that's like, look, I honestly don't do it as much because my, I have a 5-minute commute now, which, used to be a 45-minute commute. So,
right.
But I still get it in because it is what it is. Some people like long term, some people like the short stuff. Whatever works, man.
Yeah, whatever works. All right, bro. I'll talk to you later. See you tomorrow.
All right, man. Later, buddy. You got it.